So I started with a company called Paprikas. Worked there for around um, 3 years. Then I moved to Prana. There I was there for 3 years. Then DreamWorks India. There I was there for 5 years. And then I moved out from there and I was working on my own projects as little bit freelance and all those stuff. And then I joined AID. So in DreamWorks, there were a lot of good projects where I worked on movies like Peabody Sherman, Penguins. Then I worked on Madagascar 3, and yeah, several other projects which were more related to DVD specials and all, Christmas specials and all. So that's it. So once I was, done with working and all, I felt like I should, move on to teaching, and what I've learned through my experience, I should be able to impart that knowledge to uh, newer and younger generations. Yeah, so that's basically
So
from my.
we can see, like as you mentioned, like this is almost everything that all the opportunities are being offered in animation and animation industry. So he has worked on some DVD specials and it's up to you. So yeah, so please feel free to like share your questions. Otherwise, we have a series of questions already with us, and we'll be going through that. And in middle, if you guys have any kind of questions, feel free to ask. I can.
Yeah, this is more like a doubt,
interaction
yes,
kind
doubt
of
clearing and like open forum. You can just jump in anytime you like, and any doubts you have, just pop in your questions. It's not that I am taking some webinar or something where I finish and then you start off with your question. Anytime, anything, or we have a bunch of questions. We will start to to address. I think one is definitely what is animation. New students have slight bit of confusion in that part. So I would just talk about what is animation first, and how do you put animation in perspective during the modern times. Earlier, how we would used to say Mickey Mouse and some other animation companies were making a Bugs Bunny and all that stuff. So that time, what was happening is there were a bunch of people who were really good at drawing, and they would draw and they would animate the character walking, jumping, reacting with expressions and with emotions and all that. So that time when they were drawing, all the stuff in the movie they were actually drawing and painting and sketching, be it uh, water sprinkling, or there is a ripple on a pond or something, be it fire, if a character catches fire, or if they're lighting fire in a camp, be it smoke is coming up, be it dust particles, if the car is coming or running, and if it stops, what happens when the dust comes and how it settles. So everything was drawn during that time, 1940s, even 1960s, 70s, before the advent of computers. Everything was drawn. So whole of this package was called as animation movie, irrespective of special effects, irrespective of drawing of water ripples, drawing of fire. Everything was considered as animation. Now, what happens with the advent of computers? When we started calling it as CG movies. So yeah, just one second, guys. This is not mine.
Shut up.
Yeah.
This is the office.
So advent of this computer. So when we started calling as CG movies or computer graphic movies, that was the time the roles slightly started getting separated. Animators were doing mostly work of characters who are walking, who are jumping, who are screaming, who are shouting, or who's acting, who's sad when it comes to expression, who's happy when it comes to expression. So that was the job of the animator. And the other job for simulation, like clocks, like hair simulation.
Sorry to interrupt. We are offline actually.
Yes.
On Instagram. So we have to.
You can continue on that.
I think we went offline on one of the platforms.
On
I think
Instagram.
Insta.
Yeah.
So,
But anyways,
but we are live on Facebook and we are live on
YouTube.
YouTube, yes, yes.
So I would like to ask one question, one very interesting question. It's like Gautam sir shed a light on like how it was evolving. But I would like to ask one another question which is very related. What is the role of like storytelling? How important storytelling is for humans as we evolved over time?
Storytelling is very important. You've seen even the era of cavemen. So when people were living in caves, they were still telling stories. So they were drawing pictures and they were showing that hunting animals. So all those were there and depicted in pictorial form. So they were trying to tell stories to their generations to come. So storytelling is very important, and I think storytelling is inherent in our genes as human beings. We are all storytellers. Sometimes some people can tell better stories, sometimes some people can not tell stories, but it is some one art we can definitely be learned.
Is it? I would link like that question. How you ended with that? Like nowadays, if someone just wants to tell a story,
Mhm.
and can that be pursued as a career? Because we understand, yeah, we were just chatting around with people and we're just telling stories.
Good.
Nowadays, we have evolved so much. Technology has evolved so much. So,
Yes.
is it like a career that person can pursue instead of just some other like old school engineering or being doctor? So, what is your take on that?
Yes, storytelling is definitely can definitely be a career, but it depends on which medium you're choosing. So storytellers can be a good writers, they can be good novelists, they can be good filmmakers, they can be good comic book writers, comic book makers. So it depends on what kind of medium you want to choose, and that hunger of telling stories, because I've read about good directors and all had that inherent ability or that fire, that passion of telling a story. They wanted to tell something, so they chose a medium and they just went ahead and tell the stories. It would not matter how good or how cheap that medium is. So you've seen South Park, right? In South Park you do not see a very elaborate animation, you do not see very elaborate effects. So what is that? So one director, one storyteller wanted to tell the story of current times. He chose the medium of South Park. And at the same time, there are movies like from Pixar, like from DreamWorks, where they are telling stories through a very elaborate medium, a CG medium, where they are spending a lot of money. So it depends on you what kind of medium you want to choose.
What all platforms, that connects us to the next question, what all platforms right now are there like which we consume stories from, which we consume movies or TV series from, or what platforms, if someone is pursuing animation, what platforms can they aim to like work for, what kind of projects, what kind of platforms?
Yeah, platform, again I would reframe or rephrase it. Platform can be anything. One is definitely a CG platform, which is computer graphics 3D. One is a 2D platform, which is more of flash related or drawing related. So if you're very good at drawing, it does not matter very good at drawing. Even if you can draw simple sketch, and if three panels in that sketch, like you see in the newspaper storyboard pamphlet. So all they have is three panels in a newspaper, and one panel they start something, in the middle there's a middle act, and then there's a third act. And in that three panel, the storyboard artist or the the cartoonist is telling his story. So that is another medium. And again, like I said, if you're very good at comic books, you can have 15 pages for that. So same story you can tell in 15 pages. If you have 2 hours, same story you can tell in 2 hours. If you just have one panel, what you can do is you can just make one panel and just make characters, and you can make them say whatever or interacting with each other. Or if you do not want to draw, if you think you are very good at words, what you do is just write a novel, or you can write a small children's story book where you can do illustrations and all. Children books is what? It's just basically storytelling. Okay.
Right, right.